Jesus dies on Friday, and the light goes out. Faith, promise, meaning, and future are all extinguished, snuffed out like a badly burning candle. Saturday is no better. It's a blur, a bad dream. Fear and hopelessness are running rampant, capturing the imaginations and shaking the very souls of the disciples. If they did it to Jesus, will they do it to us too? Sunday is to be no ordinary day. On the first day of the week, in the early morning light of dawn, followers of Jesus, women from Galilee, go to prepare the body of Jesus for its deathly rest in the tomb. As they approach the tomb, they find the stone is rolled away.
Wow!
This is the first hint that something unexpected is coming. They enter the tomb not knowing what they might find. Nothing is what they find. It is empty except for burial cloths. They drop the heavy bag of spices to one side, and with trembling hands on their hips, they stare into the dark space, trying to make sense of it all. Suddenly, two men in dazzling white clothing appear to them. Of course the women are terrified. "Lord, save us," they cry. They can't stand to look at the men, so they bow their faces to the ground. And then they hear the words, the first words of the tomb. "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here." And then the men remind the women of what Jesus has said about his trial, his death, his resurrection. The women run from the tomb. A mixture of fading terror and burgeoning faith. They immediately seek out the disciples and tell them, "You aren't going to believe this. You've got to believe this. He is alive. He's not dead." The disciples think the women must have lost their minds. Peter gets up and runs to the tomb to see if he can make any sense of all of this. Peter sees the tomb, the linen burial cloths, but no men, no angels, or whatever the women were talking about. Peter returns home, however, amazed. His thinking is all fuzzy. What just happened? How could that be? I can't figure this out. His questions and his hope are banging around in his brain like river rocks in a burlap bag. All through the day, the disciples are talking, wondering, doubting, hoping to believe, all at the same time. They're trying to take it all in, make sense of it. "Can it be true?" they say to one another. Out on the road to Emmaus, Jesus is meeting with two sadly disappointed and skeptical followers. "We had so hoped that he might be the one to redeem Israel, but he is dead, and we were mistaken." By evening, Jesus is finally able to convince them that he is indeed raised from the dead. He is alive. Jesus does it as he prays over the evening meal, and then he vanishes from their sight. And so these two disciples rush all the way back to Jerusalem, babbling on and bubbling over about meeting Jesus on the road but not recognize him, and finally seeing him at the table. They're not going to believe this. They must believe this. These two followers of Jesus rush up the outer steps toward the upper room. This is the place where the disciples have locked themselves away, fearful. The two disciples from Emmaus really startle those who have gathered in the room when they pound on the door. Once they identify themselves, it's us, it's Cleopas and my wife, they are allowed entrance. You scared us to death. Don't ever do that again. These two disciples pour out their story of meeting Jesus on the road. And as they are speaking, Jesus himself is standing there among them, telling them to be filled with peace. Shalom Aleichem. He eats some fish to prove that he is real. And then he begins, much as he has done on the road, explaining his death, his burial, his resurrection according to the Scriptures. And then just before leaving, he tells them that they are to be faithful and that they are to tell this story to people near and far. And finally, he says, wait in Jerusalem for the Holy Spirit, and he will empower you to do the work I am sending you to accomplish. This was a day to remember.